It's weekdays with Lee Dixon on your iHeart radio station. It's time to check in with Craig Heppel at Ulverston Real Estate for a peek inside our weekly look at real estate on the Northwest Coast. G'day, Craig. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good morning, Lee. Going really well, thanks.
Okay, what are we covering today on a peek inside?
We're going to talk about estate sales. And are they emotional? Yes, they are. Are they difficult? They don't have to be. So they're becoming more prevalent, sadly. But I'll get into it and, people will get the idea of where we're heading with it. So today I want to talk about one of the most emotional reasons to sell a house. Mm-hmm. And as we know, there are two sure things in life. There is a third, but this is a family show, and I'll tell you off air, Lee.
Right.
So those two sure things are death and tax.
Yep, we can be assured of that.
For sure. Now, the former comes to us all, and for the time being, we have to pay the latter. Mm. Now, sadly, estate sales are on the rise because we do have an ageing population. Now, an estate sale refers to when an older loved one or loved ones pass away and their assets, being their home, maybe some money in the bank, even some shares, are to be distributed amongst the beneficiaries who are nominated in the will. Now, that's if there is a will, but that's another can of worms we can talk about another time.
Yeah.
Or your older loved one may be no longer able to care for themselves, so they have to transition to a care facility and the family home needs to be liquidated to provide the funds to allow for that full-time care.
Okay.
Now, Karen and I specialise in estate sales as we have been through these exact scenarios with our own parents, as well as helping dozens of clients through these delicate situations. Now, today I'll stick to the passing of a loved one and how the liquidation of their biggest asset, according to their will, usually plays out. Speaking from experience, it is an emotional time, especially dealing with the finality, not just of your loved one's life, but selling the asset, their home, where many memories may linger. You can imagine a family home of many decades would have memories, Lou.
Yep, and when you shut the door for the final time, that's it, isn't it?
It is. It's a big deal. So in most cases, the beneficiaries of the will choose to sell rather than rent the home out. Now, every situation is different, but remembering back to the situation with my mother and father, there was myself and my two older sisters who were the beneficiaries, and my sisters were the executors of the will. I'll talk about executors shortly. Now, Mum had passed away, and Dad was unable to care for himself with advancing dementia. So for Dad to get the best care, it was decided he should go to a well-respected nursing home. But we needed the proceeds or income from Mum and Dad's house to facilitate that. To say that my sisters were highly emotional and attached to the family home was an understatement.
Yeah, wow.
I kept it together to provide common sense and logic to ensure Dad was getting the best outcome and care. A recommended financial advisor met with my sisters and I one afternoon to outline the alternatives to ensure Dad was looked after personally and financially. Now, there was an option to rent the home out and use that income to partially fund Dad's care. And my sisters were gravitating towards that because of their emotional attachment to the house.
Yep.
And straight up, I said to them, if we put tenants into this house, the two of you will set up a 24-hour surveillance outpost out the front, and the tenants will be calling the cops thinking they're being stalked. That was the truth. But they laughed, we all laughed, ha-ha, but they knew I was right, and we made a decision to sell. But there's a side to that. They stalked the poor agent at every open home and watched who came and went. That's another story in itself.
They need to be on an episode of The Hunted.
Oh, they're shocking. Anyway, in a will, it should state who the beneficiaries are, what portion of the proceeds of the estate they are entitled to, and also who the executors are. The executors are either one or two of the beneficiaries or someone else appointed by the deceased loved one to ensure the proceeds required to finalise the estate are followed. However, if there is a will, there is a lawyer who oversees the entire legal process because the lawyer would have done up the will in the first place.
Yep.
The lawyer is the linchpin of everything. So if a decision is made to sell the assets, usually the home, this process doesn't kick off until probate is issued, whereby the state, through the courts, officially determines what the assets actually are and who are the rightful beneficiaries.
Okay.
Now, the granting of probate can take 8 weeks, 12 weeks, and it can depend if there are any tricky claims by any third party or even one of the beneficiaries. That's challenging the will.
Yeah.
But we don't see that a lot. So next week, I'm going to talk about what the beneficiaries need to do to ensure that the property is properly prepared for sale and everyone's singing from the same hymn book.
All right, interesting. Can't wait for next week there, Craig. Look, while I've got you, we know that the market's always doing interesting stuff on the coast. Have you got a house of the week for us this week? We haven't done it for a while.
We have got an absolute ripper this week. 36 Richard Place, Ulverston. It's a 3-bed, 2-bath, 2-car, spacious brick home. Just 75-metre walk to Buttons Beach in a very sought-after Leyland School precinct. That's a big part of it.
Can we have a sticky beak at all?
Oh, this week, Saturday the 29th, be there at 11 a.m. We're having an open home. This one shouldn't last long.
Yeah, right. Good on you, mate. We'll do it again in a week.
See you, mate.